Welcome to Hidden Knowledge Archive.
What if the night held more than just sleep? What if, for a civilization lost to time, it was a gateway? Over 4,000 years ago, in the land of Sumer, the night was not seen as an end to the day. It was not a time for rest. It was a passage. The Sumerians believed that in the deepest quiet, a different kind of understanding could be found. They saw silence not as an absence of sound, but as a language of its own. A language that spoke directly to the soul, bypassing the noise of the waking world. Their world was filled with gods, spirits, and unseen forces. And sleep was the threshold where these worlds met. It was a journey to be prepared for, a sacred state to be entered with intention. The darkness was not empty. It was full of meaning. Before the descent into this other world, a ritual was performed. It was never etched onto clay tablets. It was never recorded in their cuneiform script. This knowledge was too intimate for writing. It was a secret whispered from one generation to the next, a chain of breath and memory stretching back into the mists of antiquity. To write it down would be to confine it. To speak of it too loudly would be to break its power. The ritual lived only in the quiet moments before sleep, passed down through families, a silent inheritance. It was a practice of the home, of the individual, performed in the solitude of one's own chamber, far from the grand temples and public ceremonies. It was a personal covenant with the night. The ritual was built upon three simple, profound elements: breath, water, and intention. These three pillars appear again and again in Sumerian artifacts, in their poetry, in the fragments of their beliefs that have survived the millennia. Breath was the spirit, the life force that connected the physical body to the unseen. Water was the purifier, washing away the dust of the day and preparing the soul for its journey. Intention was the silent prayer, the focused will that guided the mind through the veils of consciousness. These were not mere symbols, they were active agents, tools to shape the fabric of the night. A small vessel of clean water, the rhythm of one's own breathing. A mind cleared of all but a single, unspoken purpose. The entire rite lasted no more than 5 minutes. It was a brief, concentrated act of preparation. It was believed that this short window of time was all that was needed to align the mind with the deeper state that awaited. The process began with a slow, deliberate sip of water, held in the mouth before being swallowed. A physical act of internal cleansing. This was followed by a period of measured breathing, each inhale drawing in the quiet of the room, each exhale releasing the thoughts of the day. It was not a meditation as we know it, it was a shedding of the self, a becoming empty to be filled by the night. A significant part of these 5 minutes was silence. Long, unbroken moments of stillness. The Sumerians held a deep conviction that speaking during this sacred time could disrupt the unseen processes taking place. Words belonged to the world of the sun, the world of action and transaction. The night had its own language, and it could only be heard in the absolute quiet. To speak was to pull the mind back to the shore, to prevent the vessel of the soul from drifting out into the deep waters of sleep. The silence was not empty. It was a space where the ephemeral could take form, where the whispers of the gods could be perceived not as sound, but as pure knowing. And then it would end. There was no grand finale, no concluding prayer. The ritual simply dissolved back into the silence from which it emerged. The water vessel was set aside. The measured breathing softened into the natural rhythm of slumber. The experience was allowed to remain personal, internal, unspoken. There was no need for explanation, no need to analyze what had occurred. The purpose of the ritual was not to be understood, but to be experienced. It was a key, used to unlock a door. What lay beyond that door was a private landscape. What happened after the ritual was complete, in the depths of the Sumerian night, was considered a secret between the individual and the cosmos. It was a journey whose map was never shared, whose destination was never spoken of. The fruits of this nightly passage were woven into the soul, but they were not for public display. They belonged to the silent world, to the darkness that gives birth to dreams. It was a truth that was lived, not told. A mystery that each person carried alone into the quiet cradle of the night.